Airbnb bajillions. You want to get rich in this industry, you're going to want to watch this entire video and see what this guy has to say. Hey Clever Investors, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Sperber here, and today we got a very special guest in the Clever Investors Studios. We got Tijani, a leading authority in the Airbnb space, a fantastic real estate investor, and just one heck of a guy. And he just slayed the Clever Investor Show podcast, which may or may not have come out by the time you watch this. But you're going to want to listen to all those episodes. We are dropping those on this YouTube channel as well as on all streaming platforms. So it eventually will come out, and he dropped a ton of nuggets around how he scaled his Airbnb empire. So I thought, hey, we're in the studio. We got the man himself.
Absolutely.
Let's go ahead and talk about how to make money in Airbnbs.
Absolutely.
First off, how long you been doing this?
Man, listen, real estate investing just in general since 2014. Airbnb short-term rentals since 2017.
And you're scaling your portfolio right now. You were just talking to me about buying how many units?
48.
Just a little 48 unit package in South Beach or somewhere in Miami, which I'm definitely want to get in on, or at the very least be one of your tenants.
Absolutely.
Staying there.
Come on, we'll make that happen, no problem.
You started off wholesaling, you got into Airbnbs. I think a lot of people watching right now, first off, is now a good time to be in the Airbnb business?
Airbnb, and now's a phenomenal time. You know, you're going to hear a lot of news. What I want you to do is to not listen to the nonsense that governs Airbnb in the space right now today in 2023, because you're going to see and hear a lot about Airbnb slowing down. You're going to hear about this whole Airbnb bust thing. Can I be honest, bro? This whole Airbnb bust thing right now, I love it. Can I be real with you?
Yeah.
I love this Airbnb bust thing because guess what it's doing? A lot of people are getting out of the business. And I love that because people flooded this industry between, I mean, we talked about it earlier, just that 2 years of 2020 to 2022, a little bit in the middle of COVID.
Everybody was an Airbnb
Everybody was
host.
an Airbnb.
Yeah.
The number of short-term rentals just in the nation increased over 60%. And unfortunately, a lot of people are getting into it and doing it wrong. So when people that are in this business but not structuring themselves as a business, they're the ones that are struggling. So this whole Airbnb bust thing, I like it because it's getting the people out of the business.
We're clearing out all
the nonsense.
That doesn't want to run it like a real business.
No, exactly.
Let's talk about the different ways to get into this Airbnb game. All right? I'm new. I'm watching this YouTube channel. I have always, of course I want to own an Airbnb. Of course I want to own a hotel someday. Who doesn't want to get paid? Passive cash flow. But like you said, it is a business. So what are the different ways to actually get in this game?
Well, there are different ways to get into it. And matter of fact, let's take it to the whiteboard, brother. Let's take it to the whiteboard. And now, multiple ways to get into it. 3 main ways to get into the short rental business. This is probably the most growing strategy that has been growing over the past few years. And one of my favorite strategies as well, rental arbitrage. And this is also considered known as master leasing. You may also be referred to this as rent to rent. This is where we don't own this building. What we're doing is we're renting it under our business, because understand, we have to rent the right way. We don't rent under our personal names. We have to, for one, protect ourselves from liability issues. And secondly, we want to make sure that we're not, because if I was to rent a property to you, brother, and I qualified you, I did a background check on you, I qualified, did a criminal history check, and then you subsequently decide to rent it to somebody else without my knowledge, by definition, you're subleasing, which you shouldn't do. But if I rent it under a business, it's understood that that business can't stay there. Somebody has to stay on behalf of that business. So we're gonna rent it the right way for one, and we're gonna rent under a business, and we're going to make sure that we are positioning ourselves with the landlord properly. So this is essentially what rental arbitrage is. You're renting it long-term and then reselling the use of it short-term.
All right, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. So we're finding somebody who has real estate that it wants to rent it, or it's sitting there vacant or whatever. We're approaching them and saying, listen, we're gonna corporate lease your property.
Yes.
It's a corporate lease structure.
Yes, exactly.
And then, but you got to understand, we're going to turn around, clean it up, furnish it, and run it as a Airbnb short-term rental business. And I'm going to be your perfect tenant, because I'm the one that's going to actually take care of your property. I'm going to pay you on time.
I'm the value. Yep.
I'm going to clean it every time a guest checks in, checks out. So it's going to be in crispy, tip-top shape.
Absolutely.
I'm your perfect tenant. You want to do this.
Absolutely.
Now, are we looking for 3-bedroom, 2 baths, or the more bedrooms and bathrooms, the better? What's the perfect arbitrage-like rental box?
That's a really, really good question. And the answer to that is it will really depend on what market that you're in. And that what speaks to the market research. Because if you do research in your market and you see that, you know what, there's less supply of 3 bedrooms and 2 baths in this area, then this is a strategy that you want to lean on. The 3 bedrooms and 2 baths are making this much and there's less supply of it. All right, I'm gonna lean into this. Or maybe you're in a market where, man, travel nursing is amazing in this pocket right here, and these travel nurses like this kind of property. So of course the rule of thumb in the short-term rental space is more heads in beds, more money. So usually you'll find that the bigger units are in more demand and always tend to have more or less supply. You'll find a 1-bedroom, you'll find the studios everywhere, but you'll find that the bigger units tend to do well. Even in our units that we have partners with agencies and travel nurses agencies, they love our bigger units because they can house multiple nurses in one location.
Okay.
So we like bigger doors for you to get going and even really scaling your business. So that's what you look at. But
okay,
again,
and how do I comp properties? Where am I going to AirDNA?
Yeah, AirDNA. So there are 2 sites that I recommend, AirDNA and also a good one, STR Insights. Do very similar work, but definitely do that research for sure through there.
All right, so would you recommend somebody who's new maybe take a look at the arbitrage if they have limited resources?
Yeah.
Is that where you start?
Yeah, you can definitely start with arbitrage. Your resources are limited because you can easily raise the capital to get your furniture in there, no problem. Arbitrage is a great place to start. Even the second example I'm about to give here in a second is another great place to start if your resources and money is limited, but you can still get into the game.
What's that?
Co-hosting. What we're talking about essentially with co-hosting is management. Because what you're doing with co-hosting, you're facilitating somebody else's right to be a host. The host essentially owns that listing. They are technically the host. You're just managing it on their behalf. So, but the good thing I like to tell people, we're talking about all 3 of these strategies, although the means of acquisition is different, arbitrage, co-hosting, but depending on how you set up your business, the means of execution is the exact same. It's the same systems to run it, whether you're arbitraging or you manage somebody else's. This is why the foundation is very, very important. So yes, you can get into arbitrage again. We just talked about it as a pretty low barrier to entry. Co-hosting, another low barrier to entry because you don't need any money. You don't even need furnishing costs to get into co-hosting. You can just manage somebody else's listing that already has the furniture, already has the things in place. So you can come in with your systems, your softwares, your infrastructure to manage it on their behalf while you take a fee on top of it.
Yeah, and just to elaborate on that, so we have a guy named Bronson that is our co-host.
Nice.
Right? So we own the units. Let's say I have 50 Airbnbs. We could have, went and hired property managers. We could have done it ourselves. We chose to go with him because 1, he's a phenomenal host. He's got super host status. He already has a bunch of amazing reviews on his other properties. He checks every guest in like a boss. He's on top of it during their stays, great at guest communications. And he's good at asking for reviews and getting lots of reviews afterwards because the more reviews we have, the better. And the platforms are now promoting in the search results, they're promoting our properties more as we're running them better.
That's actually a pretty good nugget that you just mentioned. Most people lack in reviews because they ask not. You have to ask every guest for a review. That's maximum.
So being a good co-host is a great way to earn some extra money while you're, just as I fall over, being a great co-host is a great way to start if you're looking for cash as a job while you're building this out.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I get it.
Absolutely. While you're
and what do they charge? What's a good? I know what I pay Bronson, which.
Yeah, it depends on the level of involvement, right? But you'll probably find anywhere between 10 to 30% on the co-hosting. The sweet spot for most co-hosts, 25% is kind of the sweet spot. You'll find a lot of co-hosts that will do a full range management for 20%. You'll find that as well.
Yeah, so think of that. If I'm making 20% or 25%, let's say that property brings in 60 G's over the year, and I do a really good job with one of them, then I go and get 10 more properties as a co-host. I could be making 6 figures a year just doing checking people in and out, doing guest communications, getting the review.
And mind you,
what a great business.
That's absolutely. This percentage is of top line. This is of gross income coming in. That's gross.
Boom.
Absolutely. Now, while we love these strategies to get it, these are, I don't want you to misconstrue what these are. These are cash flow plays. This is a cash flow play. When we're talking about an owner, this is a cash flow plus wealth play with the ownership. So there are people, I know people in this game right now that are very successful doing this, heavy, that's built a 7-figure operation doing nothing but arbitraging their entire portfolio, having a 7-figure operation. I know people, nothing but co-hosting, creating 7-figure operations with doing nothing but co-hosting. But then I know people like myself that are gangster, that understand the importance of ownership as well, that do all three. And again, even though we acquire them differently, we manage them with the same company, with the management, right? And so this is why I love co-hosting arbitrage, but the goal should always be ownership, because ownership is a cash flow play, but also a wealth play, and that's where we want to be. When I talk about owning, we're talking about leveraging bank financing to own. We're talking about leveraging private financing to own. And my favorite way to own is leveraging creative financing to own.
All right, let's unpack that real quick, because let's say I do my first few deals, I'm arbitraging, I get 2 or 3 units, I'm starting to make a little bit of money, and I'm managing them myself maybe in the beginning, and then eventually I'm like, look, I want the tax benefits of owning real estate.
Yeah.
I want the forced amortization. And for everybody who's new to how amortization works, right, over time as I'm making my payments, some of it's going to principal, some of it's going to interest. Well, if your tenant is paying off over time, and what I love about Airbnbs is, like, let's say a normal rental brings in $2,000 a month, maybe an Airbnb brings in $6,000 a month or $7,000 a month. So you're getting a lot more income for the same property just because you're managing it right and furnishing it right. And you can choose, do I want to live off that income, or do I want to pay down my principal balance faster? But either way, forced appreciation is just as they're paying that down, you're building wealth. And that's also maybe why you like creative, because if you can get somebody to take a deal where 100% of the payments goes towards principal pay down, damn, that forced appreciation or amortization is happening really fast.
Can you imagine principal pay down in your short-term rental, when you pay no interest on your short-term rental? That is a beautiful property, and that is what's possible with creative finance.
Yep, and when we're talking about creative finance, we're talking about going to somebody who owns a property free and clear and convincing them to be your bank, right? Financing the property and assisting with the financing so you can step into it. And what's cool about that is there's an unlimited ways to structure that deal. You don't have to fill out a mountain of paperwork. You don't have to even get a credit check a lot of times. It doesn't matter what your job history is. You literally just work out a deal with the seller. And if they have a mortgage on the property, you can also take over their mortgage, start making payments on that, because the short-term rental income a lot of times is so much more than the monthly payment on the note. So,
absolutely. And this is kind of my rule of thumb too when it comes to owning these. See, you can own a piece of property the traditional way, which, in most cases you put 20% down and you put a down payment down. And if your goal is to own your property every single one of those ways, and you just want to put a down payment down, like for example, say your property needs $50K down. Here's honestly my recommendation to you. Take the $50K, scale this with $50K. Scale this and generate, because you can get a lot of listings with $50K with these two strategies right here. Generate $30 to $50K a month with that $50K. Then go buy this property, put a down payment down, right? That's how I recommend you to own. If you're trying to buy properties traditionally, you want to put down a down payment, because you can only put down a down payment before you run out of cash again. So I'd rather you create monthly down payments and then go on. Now, if you want to buy leveraging bank financing, leveraging hard money, leveraging doing deals creatively, then you can get into deals in conjunction. You can own deals while you're scaling this at the same time. You don't necessarily have to wait on this. You can start owning deals because your opportunities go up to buy these properties with little to no money out of pocket, no credit checks, no bank financing, none of that. And now you can scale your short-term rentals with creative financing or leveraging bank money. But if you just want to put down a down payment and spend $50,000, I'd rather you create $50,000 monthly with that $50,000, then go buy or leverage and buy creatively.
So think of all the benefits of owning. You get cash flow, you get potential appreciation, the property goes up in value. You get depreciation, which is a tax benefit of owning the real estate. You get to write off all of the expenses that go along with running that business. You get forced amortization by the tenants or the guests paying down your mortgage balance.
Absolutely.
And you own the damn thing.
Yep.
Right? Nobody can kick you out. You know, over here, they can literally say, hey, I want my property back.
Yep.
Right? Like, we're done. I want to sell the property.
Absolutely.
And over there, you control it. This is the beauty of being a creative real estate investor. Man, you slayed that. Look at you go. All right, in the next video, I think we should talk about tools.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's all we have right now. What do you guys think? Did TJ slay it? Drop a comment down below if he did. Also, how do they, what's your YouTube channel?
Just YouTube, TJ Tijani, TJTIJANI.
All right, I'll put a link to TJ's channel down below. Go check him out, show a little bit of love. You want to get in the Airbnb game. He is my mentor in the Airbnb space and somebody I call all the time if I have questions about it. So he's the man. And thank you for watching. Until next time, we're out of here. Take care, comb your hair. Peace.